Hey everyone, it's Brandon here with Front Page Pop, bringing you all the latest in celebrity news and reality TV. I'm here today with a very special guest, Pauline from the Tender Loving Care podcast. Hi, Pauline.
Hello, Brandon. We are
Hello.
reunited again, and it feels
Yes,
so good. I'm so happy. Thank you so much for having me on.
of course. Thank you for having me on I guess it was a few months ago now, but it feels like it was sort of
Honest,
recent.
dude, I think if we looked, it was probably well over a year and a half ago, which is
Oh,
kooky.
wow.
I
Okay.
swear, it probably
Because
was.
it
It
was
goes
the
so
Valley.
quickly.
It was about the Valley, and we're already coming to season 2 of the Valley. It's crazy.
I know we are here to talk BH. We need to
Yes.
get back together about the Valley because what
Yes,
is
we
going to
will for sure.
transpire in this season is going to be cuckoo.
I know. I'm so excited.
Same.
But like you said, we are here to talk all about this season of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and part one of the reunion, which has just aired. So we're going to get into all the things. We're going to sip our drinks and be
Yes.
shady and have all kinds of fun.
Chin
So
chin.
cheers.
Cheers.
So I want to get your thoughts first on the season overall. What did you
Okay.
think? Did you think
Mhm.
it was a good season? Did you like Boss, the new housewife? What
Yes,
did you think
okay. So
overall?
I mean, it's hard because BH has definitely gone up and down a lot, right? Like our
Hmm.
gals do in a lot of these franchises.
Yep.
Um, I did enjoy this season. I think I was
Me too.
very, very frustrated though in a lot of these conflicts. I was frustrated at
Yep.
Kyle. I was frustrated. We're going to get into Sutton,
Yeah.
Garcelle. I was very upset about the way some of these women behaved that I just didn't, it wasn't landing for me. And I think when I
Mhm.
was thinking about this and getting some notes prepared for you, Brandon, I was thinking, what my realization is that the problem that occurred this season where there has to be a shakeup is the majority of these women don't get on anymore. And
Hmm.
in other franchises, we can have it where they have a couple have their conflicts, whatever. But at the point, we are at a completely shattered friendship group, I would say. I don't think anyone
Yep.
is really genuine friends. And that was something that went on throughout the season that was really a problem.
Yeah, I think so too. It's kind of become evident no matter who has joined in the last, I don't know, maybe even 5 seasons or so,
Yeah,
that it's always like split into two groups. And I think you kind of see that even across different franchises
sure.
more lately. And it makes it really hard as a fan because then you just have like two groups and there's always people, rooting for one side or the other, and you're just like going back and forth, and
It's
it
true.
kind
And
of
then
makes it
what
hard to
happens
watch.
is creators and podcasters like us get on and air our opinions and we just get hate mail. I mean,
Yes, true.
it has been
Reality TV
so
fans are crazy.
listen, and we are part of the group, so we can say
Yes.
that. We are. We are. I get very passionate about my ride or dies. There are some gals, when it comes to Countess Luann, she's probably my number one of all time. I love that she can do no wrong. And you know what's coming up? Who's coming up as second? Dorit. And we're going to
Okay.
get into Dorit. You know, I've loved my Dorit for a long, long time. And I
Yes.
this season was brutal. And as you say, it really is split up. It is
Hmm.
Garcelle, it is Dorit, it's Kyle, it's Dorit. There was just so many fractions that was
Yep.
going on. It was like nothing's cohesive, guys. And that's we can have all our fights, but we need some cohesion behind these girls. Whereas I think the majority of them are going home and being like, I don't like her, no, I don't like her, and I don't like her. It doesn't
Right.
work.
Yeah. And I think what's missing too, was a lot of fun. Like they didn't really seem to have fun. It was just they were just at each other's throats and they go home and still complain and then they come together and have the same fight or, similar fight or whatever
Mm.
it is. There was no like
There's a lot
light
of
moments.
repetition, like you say. There's a
Hmm.
lot of repetition in these arguments, and that we don't need that in our
Yep.
housewives. And I also think what you said is true. There wasn't any fun, and I'm all for the housewives having fun, but I need to make sure that there are some explosive dinners. And I don't think we even got that. That's what irritated me. We got these kind of snarky, like meh meh kind of comments with each other. They
Yeah.
went at each other, and then they're like, "Oh, we're fine," but they're not fine. No. I want like an Amsterdam fight. Like I want those days back. And we didn't have it this season. It's that I think everyone was hiding a lot about themselves, and that
Hmm.
did not work in a Housewives season.
Right. I don't know if it's the producers or what, but they're really not being pushed
Mm-mm.
to get it all out on camera. They're doing it in the confessionals, you know. One I
That's
think
a
about a
good
lot is
point.
Garcelle. She just kind of sits there and like, I'm sorry. And then she'll go in her confessional and talk crap and throw shade and whatever. And it's like, no, do it right there.
Do it right there. I think that that's very true. And I think I know that you and I have had our private little chats and we are on
Yes.
the same page when it comes to Garcelle. So when I'm doing the pod like you are, I do have to just say, guys, I am going to be Team Dorit. So I'm just putting it out there straight away. But when it
Hmm.
comes to the Garcelle of everything, like you mentioned, she's been on 5 seasons. I had to look up how long she was. 5 seasons. I adored her coming in. She was fresh. Not only that, she's so gorgeous to look at. You could just
Hmm.
stare at her the entire
Beautiful.
time. I was like, oh, she's got a very interesting backstory with that pig of a husband that cheated on her for years. Like, she had a lot going on that I thought was fascinating. And she was really in Hollywood and all of this. And she is the prime example that I will use of a housewife that stayed 2 seasons too long and
Hmm.
was miserable. These past 2 seasons, you've watched a woman decide to sign up for the show again when she shouldn't have, and
Yeah.
she doesn't like any of them. She
Hmm.
doesn't really want to be there, and that translates so much to the viewers. We all saw
Yeah,
it.
it does. You're so right. I agree. Yeah.
It was a shame. I loved her. I loved her, but it's just and now, as we all know, she's quit, and I think it's
Mhm.
really sad that she went out on this note, Brandon. I think it's
Yep.
really sad. That's not the way she should have gone out.
Yeah, I agree. Kind of moving to the finale dinner that they had on the beach. They were all dressed crazy and amazing. Um,
Mhm.
but they started to have some lighthearted fun. They were kind of poking fun at each other, like doing funny impersonations and stuff like that. And then Erica did one of Sutton, and Sutton did not like that. And she totally ruined the mood. But it
Sutton,
also
yeah.
didn't make it interesting enough to turn into some sort of explosive fight. She was just kind of negative. So what did you think about that?
I think that when I was preparing for this podcast, I had to refresh my memory of what even happened in that final episode because nothing happened. And
Yeah.
like you say, you know what? That could have been a massive fight. Great. That's how we
Hmm.
want our gals to go out. There's two ways we can end a season in Housewives, okay? Monstrous fight like Salt Lake City, okay, revealing of Monica. Huge
Yes.
fallout, massive drama fights. Or you get a genuine reconciliation like
Hmm.
two friends that have really been at it and the audience is kind of rooting for them. And you know what? They're all kind of good at the end and they all
Yeah.
get wasted drunk. Like that's how we would like it. But this
Exactly.
one was they all looked unbelievably gorgeous in these outfits. They then sit at a dinner, which I could not imagine how uncomfortable that was, putting
It was
food in your
weird.
mouth. Well, you were sat with these things that were poking in your boobs, your stomach's hanging out, and I'm thinking I would have been miserable anyway in
Yeah, it was weird.
yeah, it was really strange. See, that's why I think I wonder if they had new producers. Something was just off
Hmm.
this season.
Yep.
To have that as like their final dinner. So they're sat there, and then we have, I mean, Golden Star, we'll talk about her in a minute, and we could have got because I needed more. We get Kathy with ice bags held under her armpits, right? 'Cause she's
Yes.
so hot. She looks
Amazing.
half a mess, which she's one of the wealthiest women in America, and she doesn't have a glam sorting her out. But she's there, and yeah, you get Sutton, and Sutton's just a wet blanket, and she's miserable and she's snarky. And I will always say this on
Hmm.
my podcast: Sutton is whatever education she has, an intelligent woman, articulate woman, but she is the worst fighter in a housewife. She fights like a
True.
little girl, like a
Hmm.
toddler. She'll like imitate you, and she gets so flustered that she starts like shaking and kind of like an Alex McCord going
Yeah.
back of the days of like she can't get the words out and she
Yeah.
she can't do anything, so she ends up like stomping her feet and crossing her arms, and you're like, and remember the way she was staring down Dorit, and it's like,
Hmm.
are you 12? Like, what are you doing? She's terrible at arguing.
I know. And when they were out shopping earlier that day, Kyle came up to her and was like, you know, why are you upset at me when Erica attacked you, whatever. And Sutton always does this and it drives me nuts. But she'll just keep repeating herself. And Kyle talked about this and they like did a little playback. But she will ask something to someone,
I
why did you
can't.
do that? And she won't let them answer. And that just reminded me because you said she fights like a 12-year-old.
That's it.
And
That was part of it. It's the name 'em, name 'em, name 'em. She did that and she thought it was cute. She thought it was
mhm,
clever, but it is a extremely sophomoric, immature way to argue with someone. And
yeah.
it's pathetic. She looks like a child.
Yeah.
And
It was
she's not
annoying.
winning. Yeah, you just want to see you're not winning the argument, love. You look like an idiot.
Right.
Oh God.
It's crazy.
So frustrating.
Now, on a hopefully more positive note, what did you think of Boss overall? This was her first season. I think she made not a huge splash, but she definitely got some attention this season. And her friendship with Dorit. What did you think about her?
I think she played it very well. Now, we
Thank
have a
you.
woman coming in that is very well established, very
Mhm.
wealthy, worked her arse off,
Amazing
extremely
career.
educated, has worked in a world that has probably been dominated by white men. And
Hmm.
she, as a black woman, came up and worked her arse off to become a very, very powerful woman.
Yeah.
And so she has dealt with probably everything that can be thrown at you in a workplace. So these women, it was easy. I think she's
Yeah.
got a good sense of humor, which is really important. I
Yep.
think the relationship between her daughter was beautiful. Plus, she has I think, a great view on life because, she lost her ex-husband in the way she did and was left with her
Hmm.
daughter at a very, very young age. That the little girl was, I think she was only like, she was a very, very young girl when
Yeah,
her
yeah.
dad died. So I think Bose dealt with all of that. And I think she went in, and I bet on the second day of filming, she'd summed every single one of those women up. And I
Oh,
really
100%.
appreciated, yeah, I really appreciated the reunion that she was probably only one of the housewives that has ever said, oh yeah, I've watched all of the Housewives. Yeah, I did my research. Like I watched every
Yep.
season. It's like good for you.
Yeah.
But Brandon, Keely, no. Keely XX, red flag, no way.
That's what
Never
everyone
gonna
says.
work.
That's definitely an interesting relationship.
It,
She caught some flack from that, and we heard about it some in part one of the reunion about how people
mm,
were kind of calling out the red flags, and they're kind of deciding to potentially have a baby together before they even said I love you, and just some interesting stuff. But I do commend her for
okay.
it being her first season and like fully putting her life out there, like with her baby
Absolutely.
journey and her health and her boyfriend and her daughter and her past and career, just like everything. We got it all.
You know
So I
what?
really
That's a
commend
good
her.
point. She came in and I didn't feel as though she was, it's sometimes obvious when housewives are trying to play the game and try to,
Hmm.
and oh, it's boring. She wasn't doing that. She
Yeah.
came in authentically, and I really like that about her. I love the type of friend she is. Obviously to my love Dorit, but also when she saw Maurizio, and I pronounce it Maurizio just like Ken Dodd does. I always say
Yeah.
Ken Dodd, Ken Todd. The way Ken Todd, RIP, he's not actually RIP, but I say RIP because he's always asleep. When Ken, when Ken Todd would call him Maurizio, that's the only way I can say it. But the way when Bose was, getting to know Kyle and on friendly terms, whatever, and she saw him in that restaurant with that 20-something-year-old girl, and she says, "Do you want me to go over because I will?" I was like, "That's a girl I want. That's a
Yes.
friend. That's a friend."
Yeah. She's definitely a girl's girl, but she's not afraid to call out BS.
Yep.
Like, she just has a really good, well-rounded personality, I think, which makes
I
her a
agree.
perfect housewife.
Now, do you remember though? I got a bit worried. She went through that terrible, terrible time when she lost her home in the fires, which I
Yes.
thought was very important that she brought up just because the news cycle ends, we're all still dealing with it. I thought it was very
Hmm.
important that she said that. Um,
Very
but
sad.
it was, yeah, it was awful. But do you remember around that before she lost the house, or it may have been just after, she had a cryptic Instagram post that people thought she was saying goodbye to BH.
Yes, I even texted, one of my close friends who also watches the show,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh my gosh, Boss just quit." And I thought it
Mm,
was because she lost her house. I
mm.
guess I don't know. I don't know if she got hacked. I don't know what that was about, really. I never kind of saw anything else about it.
You know what I think happened? Because right now I love to work out the timelines. They will be
Yes.
filming soon because they
Okay.
start picking up around Easter. So
Okay.
they go into like May time, and then they film through the summer. So those contracts are going to be on the table. Those women will know right now whether they've been picked up.
Hmm.
And I'm wondering if at first she was like, I'm just not going back. And she made that kind of cryptic statement. And then when things kind of died down and she realized people really loved her, maybe she's like, oh, I'll do another season. We need her
Yeah.
back. End of.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think
Mhm.
I think she'll be good to come back.
Mhm.
So I want to kind of dive into some of the relationships and we can talk about, whether it's the reunion or the season overall, but just kind of get into it. I know you love Dorit. Um,
Hmm.
what did you think about the Kyle and Dorit situation? I will say first out that I can see both sides for the most part um, of a lot of stuff. A lot. Everything that was going on, I can kind of see both sides.
Okay.
Whether it was PK texting Kyle or whether it was stuff that Kyle said, about, oh, I won't tell anyone what we talk about,
I,
anything like that.
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, what are your
I
thoughts?
mean, look, here's the deal. I am very, very much a Bose girl in the sense that if my friend's husband decided to go and peace out and piss around in London and the south of France dancing with 25-year-olds with his other mate that's just got separated from his wife, I
True.
can tell you right now, I would not be defending him. And Kyle, the fact that she reached out to Gay. I always love to say it like that.
Okay.
Gay. Before Dorit, whatever fight they were in is disgusting and unacceptable and unforgivable. That's it. I think there are things
Mhm.
that are black and white. That was her friend, whether Kyle wants to say downgrade it to like we weren't best friends. What I don't care. You were
Yeah.
friends for a long time. You're on a TV show together. She's left with those kids, by the way, 6 days a week. He's off all the time. He's never
Hmm.
there. And
Right.
for Kyle to then go and say, "Oh, I did reach out to him." I mean, well, what was I going to say? Me and Dorit. What? That's not a girl's gold. It's nasty. It's gross, and that is not someone I would want in my corner. I was very, very upset about that. Very upset for my Dorit and Dorit's great boobs because you know that's why I love her because of those boobs. But when it comes to Kyle overall, very up and down this season because there were
Yeah,
moments that were beautiful with Kyle. And I've never been somebody that's like really disliked Kyle. I'm actually right now rewatching from the first season again, and it is heartbreaking watching her and Maurizio in that perfect life.
I
It's awful
know.
now. But there were moments of clarity that she had. She would come on and do a confession. She said, I am lonely. I had a house that was filled with people, and I'm completely alone. And if she had started the season like that, we would all have had empathy and understood her being a little bit ratty, a little bit nasty, like she's going through the worst time. But
Yeah,
she didn't reveal any of that as much as she should have. So I think
true.
my empathy was very up and down with her. And Dorit, by the way, everyone seems to forget, she's left alone with very young kids and he's pissed off. Like, please. She was going through it this season.
Yeah. I think where I'm coming from is they were couple friends. So
Oh,
Kyle and PK did like in a way have a sort of friendship. So
fine. Yep.
I feel like it was okay that she texted and reached out to him, but not necessarily that they kept talking or just sharing memes or whatever it was.
Sharing memes, yeah.
Like
Um,
I think it was okay for her
yeah.
to reach out, but then to continue
Yes.
that friendship is where it like gets a little rocky. And like you said, she didn't really reveal much about her emotional state, even though we can kind of guess what it was, but it's hard to empathize with her. And I think a lot of Kyle haters, especially, which I'm a
Mhm.
Kyle lover, but
Yeah.
forget that she's also going through the same thing
Yeah.
Dorit is going through. So why is it okay for Dorit to kind of blow up and do all this stuff, but it's not okay for Kyle. You know what I mean?
But did you think Dorit blew up? I think Dorit was a woman that was left with a house that was in pre-foreclosure because that asshole wasn't, yeah, I'm not a PK fan, shock, was not paying the bills. She
Mm.
has two children that are under the age of 12. She's trying to keep her life together and cameras are on her.
Yeah.
And I don't think she blew up that much at all. Kyle was downright nasty to Dorit, being like, well, I am going to speak to PK, and that's fine. Like you say, reach out to him, whatever.
Yeah.
Do not maintain a friendship with this man. Your loyalty lies with the girl. End of story, Kyle. It was black and white.
Yeah,
She
I do
reached
agree with
out to
that.
him before Dorit. Like, no. Kyle should have been at that house
Hmm.
with a bottle of wine, flowers to see how she was and to see how those two young children were that Kyle was supposedly very close to. Not
Yeah.
texting a guy that's gallivanting around London. That's it.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. I do agree with that. And I think it makes it extra bad, kind of like you said, he's out gallivanting with, a bunch of young women. It's not like he's sitting in his apartment lonely, being like, where are all my friends or anything. He's out partying with Mauricio,
Ugh.
going skiing and clubbing like 23-year-olds.
So bad. So
So,
bad, dude.
yeah, it's hard.
You know.
Do you think they will reach a resolution by the end of the reunion?
Are you Dorit and Kyle?
Dorit and Kyle, yeah.
Yes, I do. I do. I don't know if it's genuine, but I think
Hmm.
that emotions boil up. They film for 12, 13 hours. I think
Hmm.
by the end of it, and Andy loves to stir it all around, but I think by
Yeah.
the end of it, Dorit is I think is forgiving towards Kyle. And I think she
Hmm.
wants to run aside. And I think Kyle is going to get hammered with the Morgan stuff and a lot of stuff about her life. I heard the rumor that she walks off. We've seen Garcelle walk off. I've heard that Kyle is the one that walks off
Mm.
because apparently the rumor is the women all start saying, you knew Maurizio was cheating for a long time. You knew he was with A, B, and C. And
Yeah.
then that blows up and she leaves the stage. That's what I've heard. But I think they
Mm.
will. I think they will hug it out at the end and they'll say, look, we need each other. We're in the same situation.
Yeah. I do think they'll make up. I think it'll be a very band-aid solution because I think that after seeing all the episodes, Dorit will be even more
Mm,
hurt after seeing everything that Kyle said in her confessionals. Like they talked about it a little bit in part one, where she was like, how could you say that you don't know PK like that? That's like textbook 101.
appalling.
I don't know what the word is.
It's
Gaslighting or like,
yeah.
not believing the victim in a situation.
Absolutely, I agree with that. It's
And
it's
it's
a
like,
really appalling behavior. And Kyle, I'm not a Kyle hater. I like Kyle. I've always liked
hmm,
Kyle. But
me
she
too.
does that sometimes to women. She's
Yeah.
odd how she behaves to women sometimes. Remember her like pushing Sutton and being like, "You never told us you had a miscarriage. Oh, please, you didn't." Remember that horrible scene? Like she's
Yeah.
odd. Like she favors someone and then decides to just decimate her relationship with the person that's against that. It's very odd.
Especially after she went through, it reminded me of what she went through with Taylor Armstrong in the early seasons. And I feel like no one's
Oh.
talked about that. And it's really odd to me. It's like deja vu. So it's like, why are you not sticking up for your close friend
Agreed.
when it's the same situation,
You
you know?
know,
And or not same situation, a similar
no,
situation. We don't know all the details.
exactly.
Don't sue me, PK. But
Yeah, please. Okay. He's already threatening
PK.
like content creators.
And I think one other thing with this situation that people aren't thinking about is Kyle is probably getting a lot of info about Dorit through Mauricio because he's hanging out with PK all the time, and Kyle and Mauricio still talk.
But how
So,
how much do they talk? I mean,
um,
that's interesting that you said that. I didn't think about that. So you're thinking she's basing assumptions of what Dorit's doing from what so maybe like PK is bitching to Maurizio, being like, oh, do, and she's doing this and she won't let me see the kids or whatever bullshit. And
mhm.
then Maurizio tells Kyle that. Okay.
So I
You think
think
of that.
not necessarily like in defense of Kyle, just saying it as like a potential,
Mm,
fact. that I think she's seeing two sides of it.
Okay. Okay.
However true or not PK's side is.
Yeah.
Um, so I do think she feels that not loyalty, but like some sort of connection still to PK because she's trying to hold on to Mauricio.
Ah, that's an interesting theory, Brandon. I haven't really seen, interesting. I haven't really thought about that because to me,
I'm
the
not saying it's
husband.
right or okay.
Yeah, no, right. Okay. You're saying that's probably how she's getting her info. Could be very true. It could. I just think more of Kyle, I guess. I
Yeah.
think, I'm
You
not
can.
mad. I'm disappointed. No,
Yeah.
I want her to say, this is your female friend. This is someone
Mhm.
that loved you a lot, Kyle. And
Yeah.
you really threw her aside when Morgan came in. You really did. I believe that completely that she did. And I think Dorit was very hurt by that. And I think Kyle holds on to grudges. And I think she was pissed off at some of the stuff that Dorit said.
Mhm.
And she went through a lot of trauma. Her life got turned upside down. She lost her best friend to suicide. She then had this man, this relationship breakup. She thought she could get Maurizio back. Then he's like, actually, I love a single life. See you later. So I
Yeah.
think I have a lot of empathy for Kyle. And as I say, I think in some of those scenes, remember they went to that weird scene where they went to a shooting range and it's
Yeah.
Maurizio. It was such a strange scene. But there
Hmm.
was a line in that honestly has stayed with me. I mean, a lot of lines in Housewives stay with me, but it was when you saw this was maybe mid-season and you're finally seeing Kyle being the character that you remember, that you have empathy for, and Maurizio is saying, "Yeah, I've got my bachelor pad," and Kyle says, "Oh, it was really hard, because." When I realized he wasn't renting furniture or staging it, he was actually buying furniture. And then she says to him, I'm there in that big house. And this was the line she said, I'm where everyone was. And I thought, oh,
Mm.
that's so hard. She
Yeah.
had a house full of animals and kids and busy schedules and her husband coming in and the white party, never forget the white party. And
Yes.
now everyone's gone.
Hmm.
He's just there alone. It's terrible. And he's like, actually, I'm fine. I'm fine being in a bachelor pad. It's
Yeah.
great. Oh, that
That's
was
sad.
hard.
Yeah, it's rough. I think it's such a complicated relationship. Like we kind of both said, I think they'll kind of put a band-aid apology solution on it. And I
They
think it'll
will.
take a long time. And I think it will take a lot of Kyle kind of being honest and doing a lot of self-reflection and
Mm.
apologizing to Dorit. I think it will. I don't know if that will happen, but I think that's what it's going to take.
I mean, I was midway through the season. I thought this was it for Kyle. I didn't think Kyle was coming back. I do think she's coming back now, as I see in the reunion. I think she is now because this would have been a terrible way to end her 14 years on this show. It would have been
True.
terrible. But I think she'll be back next season.
Yeah. I keep debating. I don't
Mm,
know. She did
really?
say, I don't know, remember if it was an interview or what it was, but she had said that this reunion was the worst one for her. Like she feels like she says that every year now, but she said usually, she goes to sleep, kind of sleeps for a while, is, upset or whatever, and then gets over it. She said this one took her like 3 days to like fully recover from the
Now,
emotional toll. So that kind
that
of
is
worried me.
That is saying something considering I'm going back and doing the rewatch of the first season when we have You Stole My Goddamn House and all
Hmm.
of the subsequent reunions we get with Kim's alcoholism. So for that is huge for her to say, but that may be due
Yeah.
to this rumor about her storming out and these women talking about Maurizio's affairs. Who knows? We'll have to see on
Yeah.
2 3.
Yeah. We'll see for sure.
Mm.
All right. Moving on a little
Yes.
bit. Now let's talk about Dorit versus Sutton. I think by now these viewers can tell which side we're on.
Yeah, I wonder. Mm.
Hmm. I think Sutton can dish it out, but she can never take it. And
Mm.
it's so textbook toxic housewife. She, throws the knife and then puts her hand behind her back and then plays the victim when people come back at her. And I'm really over it.
I agree, Brandon. I think you've hit the nail on the head there by saying it's very classic housewives behavior. And as you were talking about it, it reminded me of of OG Miss Ramona Singer. Now,
Yeah.
Ramona Singer, we have to always remember when we are analyzing, as you and I spend most of our lives doing, analyzing our housewives. We have to split between the housewives we want to be friends with. We can't look at them and be like, oh, we love them because we want to be friends with them. We have to look at them and say we love them because they're good housewives. Ramona was a great
Good point.
housewife. End of story. She was brilliant. Is she an absolute monster? Yes. But she had redeemable qualities. There were times
Yeah.
where she really could laugh at herself. They poked
Hmm.
fun of her and she could laugh at herself. Plus, she was kookadoo. And then she went with that horrific cheating stuff with Mario. So there was so
Hmm.
much about Ramona turtle time that we all I need my Pinot Grigio at all times.
Yes.
There was stuff that we liked at her. Sutton is doing that same behavior, the behavior that you just described that Ramona did. But Sutton isn't attractive to me in a way as a housewife. I
Mm-mm.
don't see her as funny. I don't see her as her lifestyle as being interesting, even though I always repeat this fact that after taxes, her alimony is $300,000 a month. A month. That's before
Insane.
investments, that's before um dividends, that's before her paychecks.
The
We're
baseball
talking about
team.
yeah, but the two baseball teams.
Two baseball
Um,
teams.
so even that isn't her lifestyle isn't interesting to me. I
Mm-mm.
don't find her an interesting woman to watch. She's
Yeah.
become, she really is the epitome of someone. This show has just brought out the worst in her. She's not nice this
Agree.
season. She's unlikable. She can't argue well, and she can't laugh at herself. She takes
Mm-mm.
herself too seriously. That's what it is with Sutton. She takes
Yep.
herself far too seriously.
And she complains nonstop. Like, even when, which this is kind of funny because Boss, I think she technically came on the show as Boss's, or excuse me, Boss came on the show, Sutton's
Oh,
friend, I think.
huh. You
But,
could be right. Yeah, because she came to that party that Sutton threw,
mhm,
that
yeah,
avant-garde party. Yeah.
yeah. And so in the finale, Boss was like, okay, I want to remind Sutton that I'm her friend and I'm not just Dorit's friend. So we're going to go to this, I want to say it was a cocktail making class, but it could have been a cooking class or something. And they
Oh,
were
yeah.
like
Oh, God. Yeah.
mushing the things and the whatever
Yeah.
you call it. But she was complaining the whole time she was doing that. She was like, I'm gonna get carpal tunnel. She was like, my elbow hurts. She was like, oh, this is butter. I thought it was white chocolate. Like she was just complaining the whole time. And it's like,
She
it's not funny, it's not
she's
likable.
incredible. You're right. You're right. She is incredibly boring. I think
Hmm.
that's her problem, and I
Yeah.
think she's unlikable. I don't really know what I would like about her. Even as we saw them cut to lunch in the reunion, Garcelle just had a load of stuff pulled at her. Dorit had had it, and Sutton turns around and goes, "Oh, they all hate me. They're all
Yep.
after me. Sorry, we haven't even started on you yet, bitch.
Right? No one
What are
said
you
anything to
doing?"
you.
Jeez.
Even like conversations with her mom, which I'm sure they'll get into later in the reunion, but it was like, one, you're exactly like your mother, sorry.
Thank you.
But two, even during an emotional, quote unquote, conversation with her mom,
I know.
nothing. It's just like, I want you to be proud of me.
I know. Listen, we're all victims of our circumstances sometimes, right? We're
Yeah.
products of our circumstances. I'll say not victims. She would say victims, products of our circumstances. I think her mother is a monster. I called her an old bitch a couple of times in my podcast, and not a lot of people like that, but I stand by it.
I will
She's
co-sign that.
Yeah, she came across as a horrific woman. And I think that growing up with that as a mother she's desperate for love. She's
Mhm.
desperate for acceptance. And that's all fine and dandy. A lot of us are. But what you had talked to me a little bit about, Brandon, is this whole thing that Erica accused her of was so spot on when Erica said to her, "You really enjoy going after women when they're at their
Mhm.
weakest." And I
100%.
was like, "That's it." And
Yep.
that's her mother. That's her mother.
Yeah, you're right. It's it's so like her mother. It's crazy.
I
And
think that she probably desperately wanted sympathy from her mother at times as she was growing up, and that mother gave her nothing. So, what
mm-mm.
she did is internalize that. And then, when she sees someone suffering, like Dorit going through this horrendous breakup, it's this feeling that I'm pretty is very subconscious to her of,
Hmm.
I remember feeling pain. Nobody gave it to me. I bet her mother was even harsh on her when she was going through pain of being like, stiff upper lip, you get on with it, you do this.
Yep.
And so that's what she manifests and gets I think she gets angry seeing someone in pain. I really
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Ugh.
She just always has to go after them. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what it is. If it's like a weird attention thing that attention
Mm,
is being put on them and not her because she wants that acceptance, you would think
yeah.
she would almost have more empathy. We're not therapists, or psychologists or anything, but you would think she would have more empathy for someone going through that because she didn't have that love or empathy or anything growing up. You would think she would be like, "Oh my gosh, Dorit, like I'm here for you because no one was there for me."
That's
But
if all of us worked in healthy ways. Unfortunately, we don't, especially when you get
yeah,
messed up
good
childhoods.
point. Yeah.
So I think it's all been twirled in her. And by the way, I love how you say we're not therapists. And it's like we have studied these goddamn women for 15 years.
We
I
are
am a therapist. Oh, yeah.
bravoologists. That's what we are.
Apologists. Woo! I love it.
I know. I'm gonna add that to my
Um,
Instagram bio.
yes, please. We should. We should.
And
It's a
then
lot.
I think Jennifer Tilly, like I love Jennifer Tilly. And her on the show, she had like her funny, quirky moments, which I think we need more of.
Yes.
But she was enabling Sutton a lot on the boat, and she was like, "They all came after you. It was a
I know.
fuck hunt." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like she got called out for her crap. That's what
I
it was.
I feel the greatest line was I think it was the next day after the boat. Tilly sits down and she goes, "Huh?" She's like chewing on something or eating something. She goes, "You know what? I never knew how much these women disliked you."
Yeah.
I burst out laughing. I was like, "You're great." I do agree she did enable, but I was wondering if that was her actress coming out trying to stir a little bit for the show, which I'm fine with if you want to do some
Hmm.
stirring. I love Tilly. We need to
Yep.
talk about Tilly. I will say. What I was begging for was if those producers had been smart, I wanted to see a very long scene with just two characters, and those two characters was Jennifer Tilly and Mrs. Kathy Hilton. Can
Yes.
you imagine those two going off and doing something together? I needed that.
Amazing.
Never got it.
I know. We need them on like a shopping trip or a lunch or like something.
Oh,
I can't
it
imagine the conversations we would get.
it would just be like, I'm so wealthy, I'm so wealthy. No, because I just think they were both off the wall. I was desperate for more
Mhm.
Kathy this season. I was desperate for
Yeah.
more Tilly as well. We needed more of her. Um,
They're the
in
same. They're so quirky
I
and
know they
it's
were
amazing.
perfect, Brandon. They were perfect. I need both of them. Um, I do think that Kathy scenes, which I could have watched an entire 40-minute episode, whatever it is, of Kathy Hilton putting all these lotions and potions on, and then just someone calling her brand manager, which we needed to know, and just let say, I'll be back in a minute. And it was like 30 minutes later, and she's like, hello, is anyone there? And it just Kathy in a mirror putting on potions. I could
She's
have watched that
amazing.
all day long.
I need just a whole show of her just like I don't even want drama. I just want the camera to follow her around all day like a vlog.
You
I'd watch it.
I would watch it. I know, I'd pay for it. I mean, it really is.
It's
That's what
amazing.
I felt was missing. Like you had said it earlier about how you felt there wasn't any frivolity or some
Hmm.
fun, silliness.
Yeah.
We got that from, and listen, I will also say, I do understand a lot of these listeners your listeners right now, listeners of my potty a lot of people in the Bravo world are like, the Kathy Hilton thing is all a shtick. She's extremely smart. This dumb, walking on a runway and all of the. You know what? I don't care. I think that's
Thank
the
you.
I came
Thank
to.
you. Who gives a shit? It's still funny.
It is.
It's
I don't care.
hilarious.
We all know she's extremely savvy. We all know
Yes.
she's very smart woman. She's not lasted 40 something years being married to a Hilton and holding on to all of that and having a very tight private circle
Excuse me.
without being a very savvy woman. So we know that she is, but I don't care if it's a shtick, it's
Mm-mm.
working and I bloody love it.
It's hilarious. And like to me, she's doing something similar to what Paris did, which is
Oh,
like the
yeah.
dumb blonde thing. But I do think at least half of it is true Kathy Hilton. Like, if you remember Kim Richards, she was very quirky. Kyle
I know, whoa,
always
whoa, whoa.
said
I
that's
have to
like,
stop you right there, Brandon.
okay,
First of all, how dare you? You just said, do if you remember Kim Richards. Now, I need
if
you
you
to
remember her
apologize.
quirky moments.
Okay. Of course, that's all I think about. I need
Yes.
you to, hello, do I remember her praying to a bin in a corner on holiday? Yes. Do I remember her love of turtles? Yes. Do I remember her in Paris twirling around saying to Lisa Vanderpump, I've been here for days, Lisa. I remember it all. So you do not, we all remember
Yes.
him. God
I will never
bless.
insult you like that again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I love Kim, but Kyle, always said like that's how their mom was and that's how they are. They're like very just quirky people. So I do
Mhm.
think a lot of that is genuine and then like some of it is played up, but like you said,
Oh,
who
yeah.
cares? It's
Who
so
cares?
funny.
You do not have Hilton wealth and live in the real world. You are going to be a
Exactly.
little. She lived in some, I think it was she lived in the Beverly Hills Hotel or somewhere for like
Hmm.
3 years. I mean, this is not a normal existence this woman has lived in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she is, the word is, she's a true rich eccentric. That's what
Hmm.
she is.
She
And
is
I
very
can,
uninhibited.
oh, I love it.
She's the best.
Hmm.
So now I want to get into a hot topic, which was Garcelle. Overall, at the reunion,
Mm,
Erica versus Garcelle, everyone versus Garcelle, Kyle versus Garcelle.
I know.
Um, it's just kind of a big ball.
I know.
But I want to get your thoughts on one of the most viral moments, which was Erica calling out Garcelle, saying, "I wish you were more interesting."
I'll
Whose
tell you
side
what.
are you on there?
Okay. I'll tell you exactly where I am with this. Here's what I think, Brandon. Erica, we need to think about Erica's psyche here. So Erica's last season was a shit show, right? And the one before that was a shit show as well.
Yep.
And she came into this season and she thought, okay, the public don't like me. And I need to come on here and figure out how to play this so I can keep this check.
Hmm.
So I think she did fabulously in playing the role of she wasn't too much in the background. She was flitting in between people to be a peace, wait for Andy to say, "Oh, Erica, this season you were the peacemaker." Like wait for
Yeah.
that. She knew what she was doing with that, and it was very calculated. And I applaud her on that because with
Hmm.
these housewives sometimes forget how to stay on a show. So
Yep.
she came in and she goes, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to get onto this show this season. I'm going to be pretty mild. I'm going to go in between people. I'll support everyone. I'll be very neutral. But I'm also going to have some stingers. I can't just be boring.
Yeah.
So, what I'll do is I won't fully go at Sutton, but on the boat, I'll say something like what she said you go after people when they're weak. Then at the reunion, she has that line, and that was very I mean, it probably came out of her mouth because she thinks it, but I thought you're playing it. All of that
Hmm.
line was nothing about how she doesn't care about Garcelle, but it was how I'm still going to have the audience's interest because look at what it did. It did make 1,000 memes. It did have
Yep.
people speaking about it. So she knows what she's doing because I have heard the rumors she is desperate to get on that next season. She's
Hmm.
sued up the arse. I just covered on the potty the other day what's going on with her. She's losing this lawsuit. It's over
Yeah.
$300,000 she's going to own a designer. She also has the trustee of Tom Girardi's bankruptcy case suing her for millions. She is in the pits again.
Yep. She needs
Uh,
it.
She needs it desperately. So I think that what she said to Garcelle about her not being very interesting was nothing about really what she thinks of Garcelle. It was to stay on the show, have a little bit of a zinger, have a one-liner. Do I think that Garcelle deserved that? I think that Garcelle is a physically a beautiful woman that is very interesting to look at. I could do that all day. I think she is a woman that has had fabulous stories in Hollywood, which is fascinating. But I
Hmm.
think she is at a point in her life where her concentration is her kids and she's making some movies and she's plodding no, plodding along is wrong. She's soaring in her career. Sorry, that's
Yeah,
incorrect.
yeah.
She's producing, she's directing, and she doesn't want to be on the show. And that's
Hmm.
been evident, as I said, in 2 seasons. So does that make her boring as a housewife? Yes, it does.
Yeah, I agree. I do think Erica was right. A lot of people, shot back and said that Erica was boring. I didn't think she was that boring. I just think nothing big happened with her. And I
Yeah.
think that's an important distinction because a lot of Housewives fans and, even some bloggers and podcasters and things like that, they do forget it's a reality show. We do
Mm-hmm.
want drama, but
Mm-hmm.
people talk about, oh, this person didn't have a huge storyline, they need to go. This person didn't have a huge storyline, they need to go. And it's like, in a normal person's life, you're gonna have ebbs and flows of and highs and lows of what happens, what's going
Mm-hmm.
on. She just gave us what, 3 seasons
Uh,
of insane drama. She was
exactly.
allowed to have like a little bit of a low period. And I think, like you said, she played it really smart and she just became part of the ensemble because
Very
it is an
true.
ensemble show. And I don't think everyone needs to have that like life-altering storyline. And I think we've gotten so used to that because of all the crazy drama that's gone on with all these different Housewives seasons recently. And
I
people have
think
just become
that is
accustomed to that.
That is so accurate. I'm not an Erica fan, but I want her back next season.
Yeah.
Once again, we have to, like you say, we have to make a distinction of what we want to see on our TV as opposed to who we want to be friends with.
Good
It's
point.
like Erica, yeah, she did. I mean, her whole storyline, everyone's like, was just decorating, like the pool. I still can't get my head around where she lives. It's like that is a pool house, but she
Yeah.
lives in like a main house. I know it's in Hancock Park. I know that area where they have these massive big houses, but I think I can't make head nor tails of really the layout of that. I want a whole floor plan. I want the financials. I want the floor plan. I want it all. But I could emotionally not take one more episode of Martin coming in, Bollard, whatever the fuck his name was, Martin Bollard, whatever, coming in and going, darling, we're gonna make your wallpaper. Like, couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do him
Yeah.
anymore. So, but you're right. I think if Erica gets this contract, which she probably knows now if she's got it or not, and is begging for it, she will next season bring it massively.
I think she'll have to
Yeah.
stay on
Yeah.
further.
Agreed. Agreed.
I could see her being almost like one of the main, I don't want to say matriarch because she's not
Hmm.
like super old, but like one of the main matriarchs or like core members
Hmm.
of a cast shakeup
Interesting.
because she does have that like amazing personality and kind of like dominant personality
Yeah.
when she wants to.
Yeah.
Um, and she still has like a fabulous life, even though she's not like ultra wealthy like she was. She still does the glam and the outfits and all that stuff. So I think she could potentially have that going for her. But
I think she's to be careful. I agree that if they were going to do a massive car shakeup, I think she would be a core member and could do that. Yes. However, she has to be very careful because the things that people really were turning on Erica about was not only just how she was responding to the victims and having no
true.
empathy and all of that, is that the shtick that she does that I can't stand of her like I'm so tough and I'm gonna tell you. And it's like, all right, Eric, we've seen this play out. Like, can you just like got it? You're so tough. You're so scary. Like, we get how this is playing out, whatever. That has to go. I think if
True.
she gets next season and can come back, she is gonna have a storyline. The fact that she's getting her ass sued and is in serious, serious danger. That glam
Hmm.
squad, by the way, is got, I don't know how there's allegedly, because no one wants to get sued, allegedly she had a very wealthy benefactor and that's how she got her residency in Vegas when she was there for when they were selling tickets for $7.
Hmm.
Um That was a guy that owned that casino that also was a lawyer, and he was bankrolling, allegedly bankrolling her, and allegedly bankrolling her lawyer. And then he's since tired of her, allegedly. And so she
Mm,
didn't file, apparently, a brief that had to get filed, which in turn has caused this lawsuit with the costume designer. So
goodness.
I think that would actually be those, if she comes back and she's honest about all of this has collapsed again. I thought I was on my way somewhere. Everything is collapsed. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
That would be good. That would be her being honest and good television again. Because
Yeah.
even I had so much, I felt even, dare I say, inspired when you're looking at a woman that's over 50 and she was sat there saying, my life was awful and I have dragged myself out of debt, of having nothing, and I'm really getting somewhere. And now
Yeah.
look what's happening to her. But I think if she comes back next season like that, that will be a winner.
hmm I agree. And I do think she has to come at it a little bit differently than she did with the Tom stuff, though. Like, not as defensive. Like, she has to come off more likable
Hmm.
if that situation occurs, because she'll just lose her,
Absolutely.
last remaining empathetic people if she does that. But
Absolutely.
all right, well, back to Garcelle.
Oh, yes.
So she got some flack for coming at Kyle about, the lesbian comment, but her fans also stuck up for her, saying, it's what people want to know. Yet Kyle did call out during the reunion that she's also made the choice not to show her sons because her sons didn't sign up for it. And they've gotten hate from the show. So like what do you think about that situation?
Oh, well, she had one son did not sign up.
Yeah.
Um, Garcelle's sons went through some horrific online bullying
Yeah.
and racist attacks. And one of her sons, we saw his modeling career. He was on the show. The other one
hmm
was not because he chose not to. It is ridiculous to compare a minor, he's not 18, a minor to not being on a show, as opposed to Kyle, who brings in a woman one season who by the way, I got a load of shit on a comment that I wrote about this because it's about more, when Kyle's whole argument is, well, Morgan didn't sign up for it. And Garcelle, quite rightly, I loved it when she said, not, no, she didn't sign up for it this
This
season.
season.
I like that a lot. I think, Kyle protesting about how she has to, it was so cringingly embarrassing in that first episode when she says to Garcelle, I'm not going to mention that person's name, but she doesn't want to be on the
Yeah.
show. So give us a break. You're not, oh my God. This Morgan came on the show with Kyle
hmm
very voluntarily, signed up for it, got paid a day rate for it multiple times
Oh,
every time she was on that show. Okay.
I did not
And
know
then
that.
yeah, you always get paid a day rate. So she would have got paid a day rate. Then she did a video that played into all these romantic rumors that they have between them, and she
hmm
used that for publicity. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what Morgan did. She harnessed what was going on to use for publicity. She did interviews with Kyle about the music video for to say that, oh well, if everyone's talking about rumors, I may as well talk about them too. So you can't have it both ways, love. I
Yeah.
think for Kyle to try and attempt to talk to Garcelle about not having her minor child on the show that was bullied and harassed, as opposed to her having a woman that she's obviously in some sort of relationship with, whatever that is. It's part of your life, Kyle. Yes, you've given everything for 14 seasons, but you can't stop now. That's it.
Yeah. That's fair. I do think like it bothers me a little bit because I'm like, why does she need to come out and say, you know, yes, I'm a lesbian and I'm
Yeah,
in a
I know.
relationship with Morgan? It's like, why can't she just be like, I feel like she doesn't have anything to say because there's nothing super specific going on. Like, she's in this weird place with Maurizio. Now you have me saying Maurizio. She's in this weird place with Morgan. It's just also seems so like flexible and
I
on a
mean, you may,
spectrum. So I don't know that she would have anything definitive to say.
but that's what Kyle's leading us to believe. And there are definitive things she can
Fair.
say. She is saying that the marriage with Maurizio's over. That man does not want. I think Kyle would get back with him. I genuinely think
Mhm.
she would want to. I think she misses that family. He's gone. He's not
Yeah,
coming back
he's
anytime
not.
soon.
No.
And they are not divorcing due to financials. The mess of they had no prenup, that agency trying to split all of that is going to be a hellacious divorce. And I don't think either of them even want to bother doing it. So
Yeah,
that's why a divorce has not been filed. It's
I
not
agree.
the fact that they'll ever get back together.
Yeah.
And I think that she is does enjoy this. Are they, aren't they with Morgan? They are photo. It's the fact. She knows she's going exactly where all the paparazzi hang out. I've worked in all the places that they're getting photo, all around BH where she is. There's certain
Hmm.
areas of paparazzi hang out, and they happen to be there every single time getting photographed in Aspen. The exact. She knows what she's doing. I think Kyle is a child actress that will always love the attention. I think that you're right. We do not need to force people to tell us their sexuality. Absolutely not. That's none of our business. But what is our business as a viewer? And I think as a castmate, you
Hmm.
sign up and you have to tell everything. It's not about sexuality, it's about being in a relationship. Are you in a relationship? Are you dating someone? No one even ever asks Kyle, like, are you dating anyone? And she never even
Yeah,
answers that. Like, she doesn't give any answers. With Morgan, if she wanted to,
true.
this thing, if she wanted to shut it down, they've said, so what is it? Garcelle says, "So what is going on with Morgan?" And she deliberately has a dramatic pause and is, well, it's fine. I mean, there's nothing. Instead of saying, we're friends, that shuts it down. That's done.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's very true. There's definitely some things she could say to shut it
Yeah,
down if she didn't want it to be talked about, instead of
yeah,
saying, I'm not going to talk about it. You're right.
exactly. Exactly. She knows what she's doing.
I think Garcelle, I think she doesn't have much going on. And I agree with Erica. Like, she wasn't that interesting. Like you said, it's time for her to go. Like, she spends her
Yeah.
time narrating other people's stories so much instead of her
Yes.
own. Like, she should go, work for like audiobook recording or something because that's all she does is like narrate
It's
other people's
true.
lives.
It's true. It's so true. I mean,
Yeah.
what did we get out of Garcelle? What on earth happened? A
Nothing.
beach house in 2 episodes? That's
Yeah.
it.
Literally nothing else.
Nothing. I can't even think of anything.
Yeah. And it's so interesting to me, her relationship or friendship with Sutton. I don't I don't really
That's
understand it.
I think if she was on another season, if Garcelle was going to come back for another season, that would explode. I
Oh,
think
100%.
Garcelle feels very let down by Sutton. Very
Hmm.
let down. And quite rightly, Sutton and her obsession with Kyle is just like enough.
Weird.
It's
Yeah,
weird. It really is. And hey, Sutton, guess what? Kyle doesn't like you. She's never liked you. Sorry, buddy.
I
It's not
know.
gonna happen.
I've always thought that was weird. Sutton always explains them as really good friends, but they're
No.
always
When?
fighting, and Kyle like doesn't like her.
She really doesn't like her. She
Yeah,
really doesn't.
it's so odd. I think Garcelle also, maybe it's because the fans hype her up so much, her fans. She feels like she's so important to the show, almost like Lisa Vanderpump or something. Like I could tell like when she walked off, she like yeah, it was a moment, but I feel like she thought it was a bigger moment. And I was just like, okay, bye.
Yeah,
Like I didn't care. I don't know. Like
I
you're on
don't
the end of
get
the
it.
couch, like
Yeah, I didn't get it at all. They broke for lunch, and then I think we saw that they broke for lunch, and then it's the next part that we're going to see her walk
yeah,
off.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I'm like, okay, Garcelle, just we get it. This is the end, but I am just sad about how Garcelle is going out. I really am.
Yeah, I think it could have been a lot better, a lot more dignity. I think if
Yeah.
she had kind of sat through the reunion, whether she owned anything, whether she fought, whatever. I think if she waited and then made the announcement afterwards, I think people would have had a lot more respect for that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she could have. I guess, yeah, she did do it all before it had all aired. But Garcelle's going to be successful, whatever she
Oh, of
does.
course,
I
yeah.
wish she would have left this reunion or left this season on a really high note. But I don't.
Mhm.
I think what we're going to see in part two, part three of the reunion is not going to look good on her.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Um, Before we kind of chat about what the future or next season of Beverly Hills looks like, is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
I would just say that what, again, Dorit, what she's gone through, I find it really bizarre how I would say not one of those women, apart from Bose, actually a little bit of Erica, had empathy for a
Mhm.
woman that was left with two small children. I thought it was
Yeah.
gross the way the women treated her this season. And all Dorit has done is tried to stand up for herself.
Mhm.
And yes, she said on national television he wasn't a good father. She just got a harassing email from him. She says he sees them a Saturday a week. He's not
Mhm.
paying bills. He's in debt to casinos. He's living in he doesn't even travel. He travels into the other continents most of the time. Give her a break. Why
Yeah.
weren't they all rallying around her? No, they
Yeah.
were it was gross, absolutely gross.
Yeah, I do agree. She definitely should have had more support.
Hmm.
Um, I think that would have fared better for Kyle and Sutton too if they gave her a lot more leeway in things that
Absolutely.
she did and the arguments and things like that. I think it would have worked out better for them.
Absolutely. I agree.
But so real quick, do you think there will be any sort of like big shakeup with Garcelle leaving? Because then it's kind of like Sutton on an island alone, and some people are saying that Erica needs to go and Kyle might leave, all that kind of stuff. What do you think the next season will look like?
I can tell you what I want, okay? This is what I want. Bravo execs, this is what we want. I want to keep Kyle, obviously my Dorit and her boobs. I want to keep Bose. I want Erica to really shake it up next season and be honest
Mhm.
about all the shit she's going through. Sutton I'll keep just so that she can get her just desserts. Yes, I'm vindictive like that. And I want Tilly full time and I want Hilton full time. That's my dream. I
That would be
don't think
good.
we're going to get that, but that's my dream.
Yeah, that would be good.
It'd be so
I
good.
would like to keep Kyle, Dorit, Bose, and Erica. Of
Hmm.
course, have Kathy appearances, whether
Oh,
that's full-time or friend.
oh, yeah.
I'm ready for Sutton to go. I can't take it anymore.
Yeah. She is
Um,
really frustrating to watch.
but I think it's hard because we won't get Tilly without Sutton, I don't think.
No. No.
But I think if we bring in three full-time newbies, that will kind of
Ooh,
balance out the cast a little bit more because Bose is also kind of a newbie.
Brandon.
So she's like a nice bridge. I think that would work out good.
Three full-time. I mean, I remember New York did that. They got rid of Jill Zarin, Alex McCord,
Hmm.
Kelly Kaloran Ben Simone, and they brought in three new, which was Heather, Carol, and Aviva. Uh,
Hmm.
so I mean,
Because we have had bigger casts in the past,
I love a
like
big
as much as
cast.
eight girls. It's worked so
Oh,
much better. All right, one thing we haven't talked about, which is a hugely debated topic on social media,
yeah.
is the robbery with Dorit. Garcelle kind of brought up on camera that she thought it was set up by PK. What do you think about that? The robbery situation, and then also Garcelle bringing it up in that way.
Okay. I, as I said earlier in the show, I have loved Garcelle from the beginning. I really enjoyed her coming in. First couple of seasons, she's been on five. Three of them were great. The last two, that last reunion of last season, she was sat next to Crystal, who I also loved. And they sat there. And that was the first time Garcelle voiced about her doubts in this robbery being set up possibly by someone that Dorit knew or was associated with Dorit, aka
Mhm.
allegedly insinuating that it was allegedly PK.
Yeah.
And when Dorit returned and responded with, "I had a gun held to my head." She goes, "Well, both her and Garcelle and Crystal sat there, smirked, and said, well, and that Garcelle lost me then. I said,
Yeah.
I understand us all having a little bit of snark. I understand that, yes, there were massive rumors out there, massive rumors. There is
Hmm.
fact that PK owes millions to a casino, and casino people are not people you want to piss off. All right.
Yeah.
Those owners of a casino. And he got in, he's been dodgy in a lot of areas, allegedly. And, he owed those money to that casino and apparently to other people as well. This robbery happened, and if you can sit there and speak to a woman that went through, I can't imagine that trauma, and I hope I never
Mm-mm.
experienced that trauma.
Insane.
She had two masked men enter her room in the middle of the night. She was a gun at her head, on her knees, begging for her children's life, begging, and her two young children sleeping in the other room. And as a mother, she did everything to protect those two children. She would have been shot in the head for her children.
Yeah.
And for two women that know her and knew those children to sit and smirk and laugh about that, I thought were
Awful.
disgusting. And we have Garcelle this season having this conversation that we saw with Sutton, and she says, "I never said it was Dorit." Okay, so we get just Garcelle. You have all these guts. Just say it.
Right.
Just say that you don't think it was Dorit, but you think someone related to her did it. We all know who you say, but you're doing this, giving a little bit and then backing off and saying, "I didn't say
Hmm.
anything."
I
Yes, you
hate
did.
that.
And then
Yeah.
she sat at this reunion, and Gus and Dorit is saying to her, "You were insinuating that it was set up by me or my husband." No, well, I mean, I didn't say you. I said someone did it. Well, of course, someone did it. Like, it happened, so someone did it, you idiot.
Hmm.
But it's like, sorry, I get so vitriolic about this because she says, and she sat there leaning on a sofa, back on a sofa, being like, "I just don't think, it was very
Hmm.
convenient they left a phone for you, isn't it?" How does she know what happens? No robbery is going to go in a certain plan in a certain manner. I think
Right.
it was absolutely unacceptable what she did to Dorit, and I think everyone else that sat at that reunion and was silent are also gross as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. They should have definitely stuck up for her more. And it was, like you said, so disgusting. I think had she reacted to it at the reunion in a different way, it could have been more redeeming for her. But
Yeah.
she just sat back and she does this thing that she always does. That's why I don't like Garcelle.
Hmm.
But she was, like you said, she was just leaning back on the couch, like couldn't give a rat's ass and was like, "I'm sorry.
That
Is
was
that what you want to hear? I'm sorry." And it's like, that is so disingenuous.
just don't say anything. It would be better if
Right.
she had stood up and said, "Hey, guess what, Dorit? I think your husband set it all up to pay off debts." Just that would
Right.
have been better. That would have been
As
better.
Lisa Rinna says, own it, own
Own it,
it.
own it, exactly. I don't know what was going on with Garcelle. I think she's never liked Dorit. We go back to when
Mm-mm.
Garcelle first came. They've never
Never.
liked each other. Got it. It cannot be disputed that Dorit went through a horrific time. Garcelle also says, "I do not think Dorit set it up." Okay, then stop talking about it as though
Right.
she was implicit. If you want to talk about it, go to PK.
Hmm.
You and Kyle can go and piss off and have a lunch with PK and discuss that, because I don't know why you are antagonizing a woman that you say went through a horrific crime that was none of her knowledge.
Right.
What's the point then?
There isn't one. And I think she's kind of has started to do this more is almost what they accused Camille of doing in earlier season, or like when she came back after her first few seasons, is Kyle was like, "Camille, you're going on Twitter and you're reading what people say and you're agreeing with them so that the audience still likes you." And I feel like that's what Garcelle is doing a little bit. Like she's trying to be like, "Oh, what are people saying? What can I bring up so I'm fan favorite?" Or, maybe
Uh,
not that explicitly, but because there was a lot of talk on social media about the rumors and what was set up, was it real, whatever.
There was, and the
And
only thing, like I say, I love my gals, and the ones that I'm loyal to, like a Dorit, like a Countess Luann de Lesseps, I'll always be there for them. But I will also point out when they're,
Mhm.
when they have a little bit of flaws sometimes. When Dorit did say, "Oh, what, you and your four followers?" No, Dorit, you know full well there were
Yeah.
tens of thousands of people that were all thinking this theory was correct. I mean,
Hmm.
even a blogger recently was brought up, the date that the robbery happened, and then the date that was very close and soon after that part of the debt was paid off of PK's. I mean, it didn't look good, and Dorit's fully aware. A
Hmm.
lot of people were saying that. I just think
Right.
to believe that that happened would be too much for her to bear.
Yeah. And it was so random for Garcelle to bring up. It was not a
I
storyline this
know.
season.
That's a
No
good
one had talked
point.
about it. It was over. Like,
Yeah,
why
that
would
is
you
a
bring
good
it
point. It
up?
happened seasons ago. I don't really know why.
Yeah,
Like, really, she just hates Dorit. She just
she
hates
does. She does. She'll do anything to push Dorit down. It's
too
crazy.
much, too much.
Horrible. Well, I am really looking forward to part two and part three of the reunion. It's going to be pretty explosive. Garcelle's going to walk out.
Yep.
Allegedly, you said Kyle might as well
Apparently,
when all those
apparently.
rumors come up about Mauricio cheating and Morgan and all this kind of stuff. So I think it's going to be pretty explosive. I'm sure we'll hear more between Kyle and Dorit and about their feud
Yeah.
throughout the season. We haven't really heard a ton of that yet. So I'm
No, we
super
haven't.
excited.
I also can guarantee that Andy is going to do the, all right, let's bring them out. Oh, no, not really. They're not really here. And he's going to do it for like Morgan or someone. Well, Morgan wanted to have her say, so come on, Morgan. And then he'll be like, actually, no.
Yes, he might.
He
He
loves
he
that.
always does that.
Mm,
And they fall for it every time.
every time. I know. It is so funny as well, these rumors. I don't know if you saw, Brandon. I'm sure a lot of your listeners have. There was this thing going around on Instagram of like a load of housewife myths that you want to believe,
Mm.
rumors, outrage, the most outrageous ones, and one of them, so funny. It's like that Andy writes all of the viewers' questions because they are
I've
so
seen that.
horrific, some of them, and it's so true. When you go through Andy, so. Everyone was saying how you look like a fat bitch this season. What's your response to that? I mean, he's just awful.
Oh my gosh.
Awful.
I've seen that. That was so funny. And I believe it
I
sometimes.
know. I mean, I've never heard of anyone popping up on Reddit, and I'm on those subreddits a lot of
Yeah,
housewives.
me too.
No one saying, oh yeah, I my question got answered in a house.
Yep.
Really, I want one person to come and say, yeah, my
That's
question
a
was
good
read
point.
on a reunion.
I've never seen that either. That's a really good point.
Hmm.
All right. If you're out there listening and your question was answered on a reunion, let us know, please,
Please
so
get
we can
in
put this to
touch.
bed.
Please.
We need to know.
We need to. We need to.
All right. Well, thank you so, so much for joining me. It's so great to have you. I will be
Brilliant.
sure to tag all your social media channels and your podcast so our listeners can go listen. You talk
Thank you.
about all things TLC and Bravo and crime documentaries and all this kind of stuff. Such great content.
Thank you. I'm kind of a mix. I have an episode out nearly every single day in which I cover. Right now, I am covering The Baldwins, which now that has been something. I
I
am
need to tune
covering,
in.
I please, Denise Richards and her Wild Things, and of course, Housewives. And on my Patreon, I cover true crime stories and true crime documentaries. You can find everything on my Instagram at Tender Loving Care Podcast. I read and respond to every single comment and message. So just reach out, follow the pod. All the links are in there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so, so much for
Thank
joining again.
you.
I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll
Thank
chat
you.
next time.
Thank you, my love. It's been amazing. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Bye bye.
Bye.